The American Heritage College Dictionary defines anxiety as a state of uneasiness and apprehension. It's an apt description of what many Americans are feeling over their finances these days. Despite a better employment picture than just 5 years ago, people still aren't feeling good about how much they owe versus how much they make. But how bad is it? Rebecca Barsh is Vice President of Financial Planning for Northwestern Mutual. They conducted research about financial anxiety to determine how people felt about their situations.
We sometimes think of it as what keeps people up at night, worried about whether or not they'll be able to help their kids go to college or whether or not we'll be able to fund the kind of retirement we want. And financial anxiety, from the survey and the research that we just completed, is unfortunately on the rise. And in fact, over a quarter of Americans say that they're worrying about their finances every single day. And that would put that in the same camp as other things we worry about other day, as an example, our kids.
Financial anxiety not only intrudes on Americans' lives and keeps them up at night, Barsh says that it also affects our health and well-being.
67% of the people that we surveyed in this research said that their financial anxiety was negatively impacting their health. And the top impact was to people's happiness. So if we strip away everything else in life and just say, in general, we want to be happy, we want our families to be happy, and yet 70% of the respondents said that financial anxiety interrupts their happiness, really begs the question, what can we do to turn this around? And what can we do to help Americans reduce that financial anxiety so they can get on with enjoying their life?
Barsh says that to begin reducing that anxiety, we have to understand what's causing it in the first place.
It's kind of the perfect storm of circumstances changing around American families that are causing people to really be more worried than perhaps the generation before us was. And maybe the biggest one is that a lot of our future financial security, particularly in those retirement years, used to be covered pretty well by some small savings perhaps on our own, but then bigger pieces like Social Security and pensions that our companies provided. And now what we see is that those pensions largely have gone by the wayside, and each of us is responsible for saving for our own retirement. Social Security is becoming a smaller part of what actually is that safety net that helps us to afford our retirement. And that is a big financial goal that means pushing off immediate gratification in those early years and doing less spending on the front end and more planning and saving along the way.
In addition to the retirement problem is the high cost of a college education for those families with kids. These days, even attending a state school can run into 6 figures over 4 years. So how do you relieve the anxiety and get a grip on your finances? Michael Kay is a financial life planner and author of the book The Feel Rich Project, Reinventing Your Understanding of True Wealth to Find True Happiness. He says that you start by taking a realistic look at your situation and by overcoming the F word, the one you can say on the radio.
The F word is fear, and we all have a greater or lesser degree this little piece in our brain that I call the fear department. And sometimes the fear department takes over the rest of the brain, and it stops us from investigating. It stops us from looking. So we're fearful of not keeping up with our neighbors. We're fearful of people judging us. We're fearful of feeling that we're less than somebody else. And so much of this fear of what happens if I don't go on this big vacation or buy the right car or live in the right neighborhood, as opposed to, hey, if I make the choice to spend less, it gives me the opportunity and the peace of mind to move in a direction that's more satisfying.
Kay says that fielding calls from bill collectors or receiving letters threatening foreclosure is what should worry people, not the fear of keeping up with the Joneses. It's values that count when you're trying to decide if you really need an expensive car or a trip to the islands.
Our values of what we really want in our life is the centerpiece of our life, and money is the driver. So, for example, many people will say, one of the things I value most is that I don't run out of money. I don't become a burden to my children. Okay, if that's what you value highest, what decisions can you make that bring you closer to that value versus further away? Some people will say, I really want to help my children or help my grandchildren. Well, we have choices. Unless we have unlimited wealth, we have to make choices. And some of the choices make us feel uncomfortable. But if we keep reminding ourselves, hey, this is the reason why. I'd rather have those resources so that I can help pay for my grandchild's education or provide funding for a cause or charity that I care about. These are the choices we make that are closest to our values.
It's not just the boomers who are anxious over money. Barsh says that millennials are also fearful of not having enough savings to live a comfortable life.
Millennials are surprisingly worried about having financial anxiety also. And as we talk with millennials and think about what might be behind that, a lot of the contribution to their anxiety is the fact that they've really watched their parents go through some tough economic times. And so they're more aware than maybe other younger generations have been about how fragile a financial foundation can be. And we hope that that will eventually turn into millennials really stepping up to the plate and stepping up early and beginning to plan for their financial futures.
No matter what age group you're in, Barsh says that the key to a secure financial future is having a plan.
We've all got a pretty big planning challenge ahead of us, but it is doable if we can spend some time and really go over our situation, think about what's important to us. And one of the things we notice as we're talking with clients is that it's fun to sit down and plan for a vacation. And I know when my husband and I take trips with our kids, we have a lot of fun figuring out what we're going to do and how much it's going to cost and weighing out options, et cetera. But some people will spend more time planning for a vacation than they will for a 30-year retirement. And really, that retirement deserves the time to plan and make sure that we're prepared, and then figuring out how that works in the context of the things that we want to spend money on today and tomorrow.
Kay says that it's not easy to forego all of those things that we enjoy doing or accumulating the stuff we really love, but it's doable in small steps.
One needs to build better messages, better habits, better beliefs, and better behaviors that support people's ability to get through these small shifts. The idea is not to make it so difficult. Think of the idea of someone who goes on a weight loss regimen and they're eating nothing but celery sticks for 6 days. By the 7th day, they're doing a triple gainer into a fudge brownie because they feel so denied and so depleted from the energy of trying to live on celery. It's the same idea. We need to make small shifts.
He says that everyone will make mistakes along the way, and buying those expensive shoes or that spa treatment aren't fatal errors. Just start over without blame or shame and get back on track to pay off debt or save for a child's education. To start with, you might want to seek the services of a certified financial life planner who looks not only at the numbers but also at the qualitative side of a client's plan.
I would tell and encourage anyone who isn't sure, make sure that if they're going to deal with a professional out there, that it's someone who has a fiduciary responsibility to act in your best interest, someone who is fee-only, someone who's not going to sell you products, and understand what their qualifications are. There are some planners who will work on an hourly basis, and that's perfectly fine if you just need someone to help get you started, if your resources don't support an ongoing relationship. Ask questions. There's lots of great resources out there, but it starts with your mindset. And getting professional help doesn't mean you're a failure. It's like going to the doctor. You don't want to use WebMD to diagnose yourself. That's why you go to a professional.
Barsh agrees that professional services, even just to get the ball rolling, are helpful when you want to secure your financial future.
Sometimes the mark of an advisor you can trust is a company that you can trust who backs them. So look into the history of the firm that the financial advisor represents and see what their track record is for delivering value over time and what their reputation is in terms of how they treat clients. That would be number one. The second thing is that a good financial advisor will not show up and meet a brand new client and try to sell them something. So you want a financial advisor who really wants to invest the time and get to know you and understand what your goals and your hopes and your dreams are, as well as what your current financial situation is. So if you meet somebody who is sitting down with you in the first meeting and making recommendations on what products to buy, that's probably a red flag. And then the third thing, in terms of finding someone you can really trust, is to talk with people that you know and just find out who they have had experience with and who they might recommend.
Barsh adds that a good financial planner will also encourage you to have a will in place and protection for your income and your family should something happen to the breadwinners. Both of our guests say that the biggest step is to get started, even if you're in your 50s and retirement is looming large. Rebecca Barsh says that you can learn more about the Financial Anxiety Research Study and about financial planning at northwesternmutual.com. For a step-by-step guide to naming your financial and life goals and working toward them, pick up Michael Kay's book, The Feel Rich Project, at stores and visit his site at michaelfk.com. To learn more about all of our guests, visit our site at viewpointsonline.net. You can find archives of past programs there and on iTunes and Stitcher. I'm Gary Price.
Surgery and anesthesia are inherently dangerous, especially for our nation's veterans. VA patients are often sicker and at greater risk for complications. Yet the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs has proposed a policy that removes physician anesthesiologists from surgery and replaces them with nurses, lowering the standard of care for veterans and jeopardizing their lives. The policy change is based on a shortage of some types of physicians in VA. However, there is no shortage of physician anesthesiologists. The VA's own evaluation could not discern whether more complex surgeries can be safely managed by nurses, and the chiefs of anesthesiology in the VA have twice expressed concern that the new policy would directly compromise patient safety. Protect our nation's veterans. Veterans membership organizations and more than 90 bipartisan members of Congress oppose the policy. The American Society of Anesthesiologists urges all Americans to oppose the policy as well. Visit safevacare.org now and post your comment. That's safevacare.org.